Jamaican Farmwork program came out of a series of complaints about poor living and working conditions on some Canadian farms. In a letter published in the Jamaica Observer in August...
Okay, everybody, we'll be with you in a couple minutes. I'm here with Hugh on that channel, and today we're going to be talking about how we're being sold off by the pound.
Systematic slavery. We focus
Sold
on
off.
on
Okay, there you go.
of all angles.
Yep.
Okay, just pull that mic up.
And we're here with Hugh and Jeffrey. Hugh and Jennifer. My apologies.
And we're back on the show. As usual, flying by the seat of our pants, but it's all good. We got everybody in place, and we've got Dr. Darrell Wolf joining us again, and there he is. Hey.
Hey, Hugh.
We're back today, and I just heard, I know you're simulcast streaming on your platform, and you just told your audience that we're talking about
Being sold off by the pound.
Yeah, and okay, so what do you mean by that exactly?
Well, what do I mean by that is this, why don't we just talk about this? How about back in 1880 was the first time that they ever saw a tumor. There was ever a tumor. They called doctors from over 200 miles away to come and look at this because we will never see a tumor again in the human body, and they never saw anything like it. And meanwhile, okay, we're full of tumors. Meanwhile, why don't you think about this one? 20 years ago, if you needed hip surgery, you got in and you were out. You never heard many people getting them. Right now, you've got a 2-year wait in a lot of the states in the United States and up in Canada as well. So, and guess what? And then people say they're bone on bone, and they're not bone on bone. It's a lie. Because people know nothing about health. You can go to school for 12 years, or you can go to school and become a medical doctor, and you know nothing about health. And that's it. You know nothing about health. You know about surgery, you know about chemo, you know about radiation, you know about drugs, and drugs are made out of petroleum. And guess what? The majority of the population believe that emergency care is health care, and that's why we're being sold off by the pound. And the reason why that we are so willing to let someone take a knife to us is because they have taught us to hate ourselves. Only people that on a subconscious level hate themselves, because if you totally unconditionally love yourself, you would look for alternatives. You wouldn't make surgery your first option, but people do. They'll make chiropractors and massages and homeopaths, but they will never learn that the issues in your tissues started in the invisible on the psychological level, because the psychological rules the biological, and nothing is created in the physical. It's first created in the invisible, which is in the subconscious. And the reality is because most people have been taught that they're unworthy of love, they're not beautiful, they're not a genius, and this is the way it is, and this is as good as it gets. And most people don't even know, but they don't have love for themselves. They're not out there intentionally trying to kill themselves, but they're programmed to do it. And we're being sold off by the pound because we're so willing to opt for cut, poison, and burn.
Yeah, exactly. Cut,
okay.
Poison, and burn. Exactly. And there was a book about that, or something that was like, that's how we deal with cancer, right? We either cut, we poison with chemotherapy or radiation, or we just burn it with the radiation.
Yeah, but you don't want to go to war with yourself, because that's, remember, how about this one? You remember this guy, Tricky Dicky?
You mean Richard Nixon?
Yeah. So anyways, he was pretty tricky. And what he did is he decided that he would go to war with cancer, okay, went back in 1962, and there was only 2 people out of 100 that have even had cancer. Now today, okay, we've got 55% of the population, averaging around 50 to 55% of the population will experience in their life a battle with cancer. And guess what? The first thing is you don't battle with cancer. Okay, remember something. You didn't get the cancer because you didn't battle. You got the cancer because you don't love yourself. There is no such thing as a disease in a person that has unconditional love for themselves. And most people couldn't wrap their head around that, even if I tried to give that to them.
Well, that's interesting, because I think most people would say, and I would say, that illness is kind of to be expected in life. I mean, I've been ill many times, and
you weren't ill, Hugh. You were healing. When you get what you call sick, that's your body trying to purge the emotional and physical toxicity out of you, because you live the life that close to the majority live, and maybe somewhat better, but that's just not good enough. You don't get a cold, you don't get a flu, you don't get any type of illnesses if you're in harmony with yourself. I mean, seriously, we should know this by now. I mean, well, we went to this whole viral flu thing, okay, which if you were to take the time to look up the word virus, it's Greek for poison, and guess what? Poisons can't jump 1 inch less 6 feet.
Yeah, well, there was something fishy about that whole pandemic thing, but it's all over now. It's all over now, right, Jen?
Sure, yeah.
It's all over. It's all over. Yeah, until it starts again.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As far as like self-love, and I know we were talking before, I know this is what I've done for myself, right? One, I go chemical free. I don't there's chemical in the air, it's in the water, it's everywhere. So it's mind, actually. And on the subconscious, where it speaks in the symbolism, so I know that it's speaking stuff. Well, I know this now that I sit in quiet and focus. I've gotten rid of. I've rejuvenated my entire body. So I had the crooked spine, every muscle in my body bound, nerve damage, you name it. I was on head meds for 10 years, 23 of them. They literally destroyed me. So I had to come back.
They didn't destroy you.
The medications, the choice of it. I'll tell you what did. I shut down. It was totally emotional. Trauma, severe. I used chemical to shut it down. After about 10 years of that, I knew that I needed to come back because I was dead. So there was no point in even being alive at that point.
Well, you got tired of telling the story. The only way that we have trauma in our life, and it continues, which they would call shell shock, or, we call it whatever you want, but the worse the trauma is this: you keep repeating the same story and telling everybody your trauma story, and it makes it worse. And that's all it is.
Right. And
you don't shut down, your brain shuts down. Your brain can only stand so much inflammation, and then it's got to shut down, because the reality is Lori, can you get that? The reality is this.
This is live TV. Sometimes these things happen, Dr. Darryl, but we're dealing with it, and please continue.
So here's the deal. There is no such thing as depression. There is only such thing as anxiety, and I can prove that. And you create all the anxiety that you have. If we knew to connect to our breath, have a slight smile on our face, don't attach yourself to the drama. That's why everybody, they will react and they will attack differently at a situation. But the reality is, when the brain overheats, because the brain is only a computer, well, it's actually a computer, and it's also a chemist. And for most people, it's a mad scientist, because they're dumping histamine, adrenaline, and cortisol on a continual basis, not dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And the reality is if the brain does not shut down like you would shut down a computer when it overheats, then you'd stroke out, or you'd have a heart attack, but probably stroke out. So the brain will actually shut down, and you'll say to the person, "What's wrong with you?" "Well, I'm depressed." "Why?" "I don't know why." Well, because the reality is that your story is your life. And when your story becomes a horror story, so does your life. And if we would just, and I can say to a person, "Well, you know what, stop telling that story." "Yeah, but you don't understand, that is the story. My life is a horror story." And then guess what I'm going to say? Well, I'm going to tell you this much. When you change the story and just rewrite it, your life will change. Now, the reality is when somebody gets into depression, which is actually just the computer shutting down, then they're going to go on depressive meds. And did you know that 6 months ago, the FDA released this? They did the biggest study on depression meds in history. And the only side effect from depression meds is suicide. So now the doctors just have to call up the patient after 1 week and say, "Are you thinking of killing yourself?" And if they say no, then they're allowed to stay on the meds. So
I heard you speak that yesterday.
I know, but I'm just going to reiterate that guess what? The amount that you suffer is dependent on the actual programs that you're running. And if you just knew that you are the master programmer, from 0 to 7, we get programmed by our parents and everything else around us, because we're just a sponge, and that's it. And understand this, 99.9% of the population are still running the same programs that they were taught from 0 to 7. If we were to take everybody on this planet and put them into a really deep program of unconditional love and unconditional care and teach them and reprogram their brain, it'd be over. It'd be over. The dysfunction is the belief systems. The dysfunction is the actual programs you don't even know that you're running that aren't even yours, and that's it. And that's why today I said, we're being sold off by the pound, because every issue that starts here must go into a certain body part. Every body part has a certain frequency, and every body part will store different dysfunctional emotional issues. If you can't address an issue, you suppress an issue. Where do you suppress it? Not here in the etheric. You suppress it in the physical body, and they know that. And that's why they ramped up fear and anxiety in the media. And as soon as they did that, all the drug sales went up, because people have never been taught how to master the life's greatest GPS, which is pain. If you can master life's greatest GPS, which is pain, then guess what? You'll have a beautiful life.
Well, it's certainly, I think anybody that's paying attention, I think, should have lost faith in the medical system as we've come to know it with the whole COVID thing. I mean, especially when they say, oh, we have no treatment at all. Yeah, no, we got nothing for you. You get COVID, we can't even treat you. Even stuff like vitamin C, common sense stuff that people do for themselves, that was just not something that the medical establishment could help people with. So I think it really is time that everybody take responsibility for their health. And
I'm in agreement with that.
But they don't know how. People can't take responsibility. That doesn't even make any sense. Take responsibility for your health. They don't even know where to start, Hugh. You know what? Let me tell you something. People are not going to take responsibility for their health. They will do it to a certain amount to be able to turn down the burner and the suffering, but to totally be able to master and eliminate it, that takes strategy. And that means that you would, from the moment you rise until you close your eyes, on a subconscious level, be making decisions on a subconscious level, not a conscious level, on how to love and care for yourself. Because people are hurting themselves throughout the day without even knowing it, because it is considered normal. If you don't believe me, look at this. So let's just take 40 years ago, obesity was 10 pounds being overweight. Now it's 40 pounds overweight. And guess what? Isn't it something? Are you ready for this? The majority of the population, we're talking in between 60 and 80%, are 40 pounds overweight. Being 10 pounds overweight, someone would say you're healthy. If you are slim and toned and lean today, people think that you're dying, because people look at the majority. Remember, see, the majority rules, even if they're wrong. And I don't mean they're wrong, because they can be as right as they want. But the reality is this. Guess what? You're big, you're bold, and you're beautiful. Isn't that what the fashion industry is saying right now to women? You're big, you're bold, and beautiful? No. I'll tell you what you are. You have tons of fat because you're storing inflammation and infection. You're going to get diabetes, high blood pressure. You've got bowel problems. Your pelvis is rotting out. Okay? There's nothing big, bold, and beautiful about it. But the reality is they're turning everybody into victims. Today, if you say something and it's the truth and your heart is in it, somebody's going to say, you prick. Don't you talk to me like that. Everybody is a victim today. Go try to help people, and guess what? I get majority rules. And what does the subconscious do? It defends whatever beliefs are in there, whether it's making you sick or making you well. People will defend themselves to the death.
Yeah, that's a big, it's the worldview thing, right? People are so invested in their worldview, whatever it is.
It's not their worldview. Their view came from 0 to 7. From 0 to 7 as 100% truth. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the reality is whatever happens from 0 to 7, you're using that as your strategy. You're using that as your actual observation, and that's why everybody has a different view of everything. No, it was like this. No, it wasn't. I saw it like this. No, he said this. He offended me. No, he didn't. He was just talking. The reality is we are not ourselves. We are not our authentic selves, because if you were your authentic self, you would not be sick. You wouldn't have an autoimmune disease, because autoimmune disease means you attacked yourself on an emotional level first. You didn't know it because that's your program. And whatever starts off in the invisible then comes to the physical, and that's proven. There are no genetic diseases, and I will stand here and state, show me scientific fact, you can't. They did a project called the Genome Project. They didn't want to talk about that one. It was a complete fail. They found out that no diseases were genetic. It's all epigenetic because it happens here. It doesn't, that doesn't run in the family, diseases. What runs in the family is belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually know a study that they, children that are adopted versus, the biological, and the children adopted showed the same genetic, right? Like if the family had heart disease, the adopted children did, where the biological child didn't. And it's from the environment the child was brought up in, right? So it just goes along with.
So that's a huge thing for people to realize.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
mean, surely, Dr. Wolf, some people might be aware enough that they can kind of live a life that's, for the most part, disease-free. Because people are at different levels of whatever in life.
You have to go to boot camp, brain camp, okay? I'm telling you that right now.
Okay.
You got to go to boot camp, brain camp. Okay, let's say, because I said to you, I offered to you to come to my whole life coach certification.
Yeah.
So let's find out if you actually come after 9 days, and then let's come on the show, and then you be honest about this, and you tell everyone that, guess what, I went to his 9-day thing and I could have done that on my own. I want you to be honest about it, and then you come and say it, okay? I did his 9-day thing and I could have done that on my own. And I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be able to say that. You're not going to be able to say that. You know that anything that you have ever mastered in your life, you had to pour everything into it. And you had to go hardcore. It had to be your most important thing. And understand, guess what? It's never, you're not going to have those changes. The only way that you can have a change is if you have a life-threatening disease. That's a hell of a wake-up call, okay? Or if you're living with people that have already bought into the unconditional love and care for themselves, and that they don't buy into any of the fear-mongering, they don't believe in any type of limitation, they believe in abundance on all levels, and it matters not what happens in the world, it matters what happens understanding inside yourself. Let me tell you, if we go into a total economic depression, I will still be financially abundant. Understand this, I am the creator of my moment. I am the creator of my whole day, because I have taught myself this, okay? And here it is. There are no prominent, dominant thoughts in here that weren't created by me. And I have none of them that I am unworthy, I'm a sinner, I'm a failure, that sickness is normal, that I need to go and get health insurance, okay, that a flu and cold is normal. It's only normal because a flu and a cold, which the majority of the population will get, they get it because guess what it is? Guess what? You have your bacteria, they can eat up things. You have your worms inside you, they eat up things. You can have your fungus, they eat up things. And the only reason why you have these parasites inside of you is because they can eat up things. When it comes to actually a virus is heavy metals and toxic chemicals, and they're man-made chemicals. I hope you know that. So the reality is this, those heavy metals and those toxic chemicals, parasites won't eat them. They're more intelligent than us. Bacteria won't eat them, and fungus won't even eat them. I tell you that's when your yeast turns into fungus because you took antibiotics, right? But the reality is they won't eat them because they'll die, okay? Because heavy metals and man-made chemicals kill us. So the reality is your cells need to get rid of that. And when your cells get rid of it, guess what? You need water. So that's why it's either dripping out of your vagina, dripping out of your butt, Okay, or you've got an ear infection, you got water in your ear, or mainly it drips where? From your nose. When you got a flu, you drip from your nose. You need the water to drip out the heavy metals, to drip out these toxins. So there it is. So the reality is I only need to drip as long as I poison myself, even though I was poisoning myself unknowingly, because guess what? Everybody says they have a good diet, don't they? And today, you could have diabetes and heart disease. And if I said to somebody, how's your health? They'd say it's great, because today the definition is you're healthy if you're not in the hospital.
Yeah.
And that changed 20 years ago.
So yeah, you make a good point with the fact of the cold. A cold is really just your body detoxing.
Yeah, so try to shut that down. And why does it happen every climate change? And then people will say, yeah, but I never did like Betty. I went to work today and I caught her flu. Well, no, it's change of seasons that do it, okay? And stress, because stress can bring on a cold and a flu, because stress causes adrenaline and cortisol and histamine to be dumped at such a high ratio in the body. That creates an acidic environment, and then microbes, negative microbes, can live in that acidic environment, and the more microbes, that negative ones that you create, the more pooping and vomiting they do inside of you, so now you got to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It really is. I mean, what really kind of bothered me during the whole pandemic thing was that people would say, oh, the science is pretty clear about the vaccines are safe and effective. And I was thinking, well, the science is something that's often been wrong. And science is an evolving thing. We don't have it all figured out today. Scientists are going to learn lessons, and science of the future will be changed.
Well, isn't the greatest thing science has done has been wrong? That's what leads us to the next step. If somebody proves the last one wrong.
Exactly.
It's not ever what's right. It's like, no, you were wrong and I can prove it. But that's all they ever prove.
Let's forget science.
Yes.
Yeah, let's forget science.
Let's forget science. Let's go to nature
Yes.
and understand that the FDA, okay, Food and Drug Administration, let's just forget all this stuff. They shouldn't even be entered into our topic. You know what? Ignore a bully, ignore a liar, okay, because that's the best thing that you can ever do. I don't let them participate in my energy. Yeah. They don't belong there. There's no need for them. No. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? So I'd love to take just a little break, and then I want to come back, and I want to, it disappoints me that people are just accepting what the government is saying without question, without doing any of their own research. And it sounds like, so in terms of what you said, is that people need to kind of either wake up from that, or maybe they just need to learn to love themselves, or whatever it is.
Well, don't be disappointed, because the reality is when you're disappointed, you bring your vibration down, you'll get a flu and a cold. And the reality is this: if you're going to be disappointed, you're going to be disappointed till the end of your life, because the majority are not going to change. They've never changed. Tell me when the majority have been right.
Well, but that's what we're here for today. To
what?
Try to get the message to people that there's actually something they can do about it.
The problem is those people aren't the ones listening.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know what? They are incapable, and they are incapable of hearing it. It's not something that they're doing intentionally, and it is unfortunate and it is sad. Because it's also people in our lives that are close.
That could be a real big problem, because if the majority is always right. Unless if we got the majority of people thinking like that, then the rest of us could be in trouble. So,
like we have through history.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So let's come back after this, and we'll continue here with Dr. Darryl Wolf here on 600 Club. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's Natasha of NatashaSkitchen.com, and it's a good day.
Okay.
We're making a no-bake strawberry cheesecake. For the crust, you'll need 1
Peter did respond, so he's obviously via web, and I told him about one.
Crush in a food processor, a blender, or in a Ziploc bag with a hole in. Add 8 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter and 1 tablespoon of sugar.
I'm just going to put this on your mic, because I'm getting a lot of popping and stuff like that. That's why I moved it away a little bit.
Did you send Dave Swanson the link?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Just like me. Honestly, when I'm in a rush, small pond fishing allows me to get my fix in, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And I
Actually, if I go like this to you,
would not be proud of this
please
fish.
move the mic
This is
a
a
little
mad
bit further
fisherman,
away.
Charlie Moore. Why did I catch this fish?
I'll just go like this. Hold the mic.
Or say that. Yes.
But each
Yeah.
day is a learning
Yeah,
process.
in case it's
But once
problems
you
still there.
get these routines, the child will.
Okay, so where do we want to go when we come back? I mean, I said, you know, because basically we're trying to get people to wake up and love themselves, and that's what, is that accurate? What we're talking about, or where do you want to go with this?
Yeah, but that's a nice story. But the reality is, I think if we stay in the physical realm, we might do more work. So the reality is this: if I could open up with just explaining what actually creates 99% of all surgeries. I mean, you know, and like the thing is what they want is this. The whole thing is programmed this way. Is first to get the dysfunctional beliefs in your head, right? Like think about how often people get stressed out during the day. You do know that people only had like 75 years ago, people would have the trauma moment 4 times a month. Now they have them 40 times a day. So see, everything is programmable. So if you take a look at, there was no autoimmune diseases back then. So now we're attacking ourselves on a subconscious level. We don't even know it because everything is a program. All right? I mean, think about it. What if you stopped reacting every time you heard something, and every time that you heard something that might cause some stress, you just connected to your breath and took a breath 6 seconds in, 7 seconds out, and put a slight smile on your face? Would that change things?
Yeah, I think it would.
Then stop reacting.
Right.
Because guess what? You are the problem. You are stressing out your family. You are stressing out your friends, and they're doing it to you. So everybody's working together to blow each other up.
Okay, we're coming on.
How's that?
Sure.
And then that goes to
All right, we're back on the show here. We've got Dr. Daryl Wolf here. Boy, we can't. There's so much information coming out there. So, Daryl, yeah, let's kind of do what you were just suggesting over the commercial break and outline for people how they can even begin to think about this stuff.
Well, like I said, let's try to stay on the physical level because people have trouble with the invisible becoming the physical. We can touch on that. But the reality is I want to talk about issues in your tissues and junk in your joints because there is no such thing as arthritis. Arthritis is a Greek word and it means arthritis. So that means what? What does that mean? That means that you've got inflammation in your joint. You've got nothing else but that. Now, why don't they call, when somebody comes in, why don't they call that you've got inflammation in your joint? Because if I said you had inflammation in your joint, go, well, how do I get the inflammation? Well, then they'd have to tell you that you get the inflammation from infection. Well, how do I get the infection? Well, how do you get the infection? Well, nobody realizes this, but 90 to 95% of all infection comes from the large intestine. It's called leaky gut because you actually don't have a leaky gut. You've got a leaky large intestine. 85% of your immune system is your large intestine. And your large intestine, you ready for this? Oh, people, you're going to love this one. You're going to love this. So your large intestine, have you ever gardened?
I was just gardening over the weekend.
Okay, do you have a compost?
I do have a compost.
Okay, now, do you throw Snickers in your compost? Do you throw cheesies in your compost? Do you throw ice cream? Do you throw beer in your compost? Do you throw processed food? Do you throw drugs into your compost?
I think that's a bad idea.
Okay, so guess what? The large intestine is the compost of the human body, and the compost is what creates the good bacteria. And those good bacteria are antibiotic for everything and anything, which is a form of chemo, which blows up your good bacteria and your bad bacteria, and it changes the yeast into fungus, which then become drill bit predators and drill holes through your large intestine. So now guess what? You're pooping in your pelvis. Now tell me you haven't done antibiotics, and I'll tell you you have if you've eaten any animal products or byproducts of animals, okay, that are not organic. Because 80% of all antibiotics are put into into animals in North America. So if you eat animal product just once a day, and whether it's dairy or it's Greek yogurt, it's so healthy for you. Like, what are you, crazy? Okay, so, or cheese, or you do meat, or you do anything, or you do even farm salmon, they're full of antibiotics now. So the reality is if you do that once a day, you are taking in a concentrated, full-blown week dosage of antibiotics. As if you, in 1 month, you do that that would be like a full dosage that you would take if you were sick from a doctor. So people are so full of antibiotics. So now the antibiotics go in and they, like I said, turn everything upside down and backwards. All right? Mm-hmm. So the reality is now what happens is leaky gut is leaky large intestine. It's not your gut, it's your large intestine. Now you're pooping in your pelvis. Now you've got the infection in your pelvis. Now, where do you think that's going? That's going in your bloodstream. How many people have bladder infections? Well, that's from pooping in your pelvis. How many women have ovarian cysts? Well, those are pus sacs because you pooped in your pelvis. I'd love someone to come on and just challenge me. Just come on and challenge me with this stuff. Okay, now, endometriosis is scar tissue being created in the pelvis due to infection that went to inflammation, and now it's scar tissue formation because you get scar tissue from the flame. If I were to put a nice burger on the barbecue and I forgot about it, even if it was a low burn, it would become a piece of beef jerky. Look at inflammation. Now, if that continues, you're going to pull calcium from your bones because calcium needs to buffer down the inflammation so you don't go into mutation.
My daughter just had a full hysterectomy at 30. She actually
pooping in her pelvis. She had bowel problems all her life.
No, I not.
It's 100% of the cause.
Yes, and luckily she was 5 minutes away last time when they came back, and she was pregnant. So I do have a granddaughter, beautiful, and now she just had that. I do understand that it's not like I didn't know that piece, but I did understand.
95% of all illnesses are from
endometriosis.
Well, endometriosis is scar tissue,
right?
And the cysts are pus packets. And would she rather have ovarian cancer or pus packets hanging off her ovaries?
Right. Yeah, it's a terrible situation for everything that she's gone through.
No, it's not a terrible situation. It's just constipation.
Well, I mean, with my daughter, it's been a very rough time. She, not being able to have kids. Then we got the miracle baby, the pain and suffering. She almost died going in for an emergency surgery, removing part of her small bowel. See, I don't go near the medical. It's unfortunate that I can't make the choices for everybody, including my own kids, right?
No, we need to mind our own business.
It's true.
And if you minded your own business, if we mind our own business and we take that energy and we actually walk around as a beacon of light, that's the only thing we can share, is our light.
Yes, that is it. I learned that with having kids.
Yeah,
they teach us. Yes, so I project the love, and that's all I can do. But yeah, it was a tough road. So, and I know that I'm not the only one that has a daughter, or she's not the only one, but it is something that people need to learn about.
She was set up. You got to understand
Absolutely.
something.
I agree.
It all works out well. Whether you want to believe it or not, these evil psychos that did the whole COVID thing, they did that to your daughter too. And the reality is they signed a pact with an evil entity on this planet, and this planet, that entity is fed through the suffering of the majority of the population. I don't help defeat that entity at all. The only way that we can fight back is to love and care for ourselves. That's it.
They plug in when into the low vibrations, like people that are
They don't plug into the low vibrations. They feed off the low vibration. That is what is their. Is what gives them their energy. But the reality is it's never going to change. Everybody's waiting for a savior. That's not going to change. This is planet Earth.
I agree.
And if we did our science, you'd see that we're on our 6th extinction. That doesn't mean all humans are leaving. It just means that there's going to be a mass exodus because people are rotting out. Stinking thinking, issues in the tissues, because what you can't address, you suppress. And now you've got issues in your tissues, junk in your joints. And the reality is if you don't know how to actually love, honor, and respect yourself, then stinking thinking, you'll rot out. Yeah, and you know what? Everybody has a certain disease dependent on the toxic emotion that they're not dealing with. And I have a book that's called The Perfect Day Lifestyle, and it's a 400-page book, and everybody who gets a consultation with us gets this manual, and it tells you what emotion is attached to all of.
I have to add something just to link that.
Sure.
To, you know, but it traumatized her. It was something that she, and maybe I don't know as her parent, but it's something seeing much later. Now she's 30 years old, and I can link that back to that's where the issues have been her whole life.
And that's great that you're that perceptive, but it's a lot of other things too. 5,000 years ago, the church and the government decided to take away the power of the feminine. And
that's a fact. Yes.
And that was 5,000 years ago. That's in my manual that I wrote called I Am Woman in my library on docofdetox.com. And the reality is that, you know, a guy can go to bed with 20 women this month, and if a woman did, she's a slut and dirty. So the reality is a lot of our beautiful women and little girls grow up to feel dirty. And that's the whole that's the program. And if this area, if you feel sexually dirty, then you are going to rot out your pelvis, and it's going to leave you. So you're going to lose those ovaries. You're going to lose those. You could lose your ovaries, your uterus, okay, your fallopian tubes will all be gone if you feel sexually dirty, or if you were raped or attacked or sexually abused. There's so much tied up into everything. We are emotional, light energy, electrical, magnetic beings. And if we don't respect that, we'll get ourselves into trouble, because the physical is just an extension of those belief systems.
The center point.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
I agree. We're only about 4% physical, and it's only the physical, it's only the representation. And otherwise, yeah, we're energetic beings completely.
Well, you look and you feel dependent on your belief systems that aren't yours.
Yes.
Until you're going to go to, what did I say? Brain boot camp. And you'll find out, if you end up coming, and you're going to say, you know what, Daryl? It's almost an impossibility that anybody finds their authentic self unless they do a course like this. And you're going to find that out, and that's why things aren't going to change. You know, the reality is we'll send our kids to school for 12 years. They come out of there, they don't know how to feed themselves, don't know how to love themselves, don't know how to love another human being, but guess what? They know how to get their pants off and bring a spirit being into the world and totally adulterate it. So the reality is it's all programming. And Hugh, you can think about it or not, but the reality is you got to go in deep, and you got to remember something: repetition. Do something 10,000 times with love and passion, and you become that. Now do something with not love and passion, and you'll become that as well, and that will be called hell.
Yes.
Right? Honor, our respect, and our love for ourselves, and just we know what's right. We know what's right. So I got to tell you, Hugh, I am not participating in this at all, because it's going to happen whether you like it or not. And it's going to be in the schools whether you like it or not. And and I don't want to hear any parents bitching and complaining because they need to pull their kids out of school, and they shouldn't even be in school because school's never been any good. It wasn't any good for you. It wasn't any good for her. But it's a damn good babysitter for parents who believe they got to go out and make the money, and that the whole thing is screwed up. I mean, women's lib was only to get the woman out of the house so they could bring processed food in and destroy the family fabric. I mean, everything is orchestrated. You know, I already told you this is the sixth extinction. You know, you don't think they have records about the last time? The world was never destroyed. The world was never destroyed. Not all humans left. This is just going to be, you know what? There'll be number 7, there'll be number 8, and all you can do on a personal level, your wife, your husband, or anybody else on this planet, is to become the best version of you, which is a light energy being. You know what? I haven't had any surgeries, and I will never have surgery. I will not. accidentally fall down the stairs and break my leg because it's not an accident. Okay, I will not have to go in for any type of knee or spine or any surgery. I was created by God Almighty, and I'm going to act like it. I am going to love, care for this physical temple, and the only way I can do it is to feed my spirit and understand something. You ready for this? Okay. We got to stop eating, and we got to start nourishing. You got to stop saying they're family, and I'm going to go visit them and get depressed. Okay? I don't do that. I don't have any guilt motivations. There are no guilt motivations. I love you anyway, but I'm not coming to stay with you. I'm not going to eat fake food. Okay? I'm going to eat high nutritional value, because do you know what nutrient stands for? Neutrons. Do you know photons and neutrons are what we need, and photons come from things like live foods, right? Plant-based foods. Everybody's talking keto. Well, the reality is we need to do keto plant-based if we really want to have high vibration. You can do keto animal if you want. It may make you healthier, but if you do too much, then we're going to be right back to the Atkins diet that went down 30 years ago. Yeah. So the reality is again, history just repeats itself. We just give it a different name, and then we run it again.
Yeah. Can't argue that.
Yeah. Well,
we have the ability to shift that in our own lives, see the cycles, and
everybody has the ability, but you need a guide and a coach, and you need somebody that's made the journey. Try to make the journey on your own.
I did.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you.
No, sorry. Of course I had supports. Like, I seek supports out. There's always going to be a mentor, something. I found that the universe always brought in what I needed. The next step, another tool, right? Like, how do I rewire my brain? Well, here's the tools. So it takes a very long time and a lot of dedication. I did dedicate my life for the last probably close to 15 years on a daily. Right? Like, I spend, and it's not even that I'm there yet. I would never, I don't know if that's going to happen.
I don't even know what there is,
that's
but
what
you're doing a great job.
Yeah, I feel that.
I see it. I see that.
That I feel.
Yeah. Yes. You're doing a great job. I don't know where there is when
no, either do I.
You know what? When we become everything, then we know that it's like this. When they say that we're infinite spirit, just know this, that it's never going to end. No. It can't end. As we know, the universe is doubling up on itself. They say, I don't know that either, but I believe it, that the universe is growing and everything's growing. And that's because it's just one large PlayStation game. Because I think that which we call God is just one big game. And welcome to the game. And then you get to pick. You get to pick heaven and hell. You get to pick sickness or health. You get to pick poverty or abundance. And let me tell you something. We do pick our poverty, and the majority of the population will be always impoverished, because that's the way we're programmed since we're young. Money doesn't grow on trees. Well, of course not, but it's such a stupid saying. Mm-hmm. The reality is that we create out of thin air everything. So if you can reclaim your imagination, then you can have any type of creation. And I know that. And there are no incurable diseases when you become like this and you have the imagination and also the understanding that you deserve abundance on all levels. And if you we put ourselves in judgment jail because they teach us, right? You know, you're a sinner or you're a failure or something, and I'm never either, any of those.
Right.
Okay? I'm just here playing a life-threatening, fun-filled game called Planet Earth.
That's what I'm doing too. That's how I view it. It is, yes, absolutely. Otherwise, it'll kill you, really. And I just am not going down that road.
I think I might still need to go to boot camp.
Oh, I'll take you through here.
Okay, well,
I'll hold your hand.
I don't want to go with Daryl though.
No, I meant I'll hold your hand. Yeah, there you go. See, I'll hold your hand.
Okay.
I'll hold your hand.
So what should we tell people who are watching this? I mean, people are going to be watching this. They're going to be in various states of comprehension about what we're talking about, or openness to what we're talking about.
I'm going to tell you that even if you've jumped off the pain train and you actually do buy into unconditional love and care for yourself, and you actually know the strategies, that you still have to go in and get rid of the scar tissue and get the calcium back into your bones. So the reality is Hugh, old age is scar tissue, internal scar tissue created by inflammation. Inflammation causes the scar tissue formation because you're burning up and dehydrating your organs, your tendons, your ligaments, and your muscles. That's all. So, you know, when you look at someone and they walk like an old man or an old woman, you know what? I'll be 67 and I can do a pelvic squat right now. I can do anything I can do any type of move that a teenager can do. So let's just get rid of that. Okay, so it's displaced calcium and scar tissue. Now, here's the thing that's never talked about by doctors. You have osteoporosis, but they have no answers. We have a product called ionic calcium therapy that will totally renew the bones. And we have a gentleman that was 82 years old, and he was on Fosamax. His bones were crumbling. It took us 9 months, and he had his bones tested, but it doesn't take that long for other people, but this was bad case, okay? And now he has the bone structure of a healthy 35-year-old person. So you can get see all the calcium that's displaced from your bones and making you look like cheese when it comes to your bones is actually still in your body, and that's what makes the joint stiff. The calcium is caught in here. Do you know what the calcification in the breast tissue is from? Well, that's the stage just before cancer.
Okay.
All that calcium is being pulled into the breast to try to neutralize the acidity, to bring the pH back, okay? So that's your last step. So do you know that you're precancerous when you have gallstones? Did you know you're precancerous when you have kidney stones? Because you've been pulling so much calcium out so fast out of your body to try to buffer down and make yourself alkaline again because you're so acidic. And why are you so acidic? Here, you're a terrorist. You're a bloody terrorist. And then when you terrorize yourself, when's the last time that you terrorized yourself, Hugh, and you went and made yourself a salad? You didn't. You went to the alcohol, you went to the toking, you went to being so angry that you didn't hydrate, so you were dehydrated. Understand, when you get angry, when you get depressed, you don't drink right, you don't eat right, you don't think right, you don't do things that are good for you. So if you don't want to buy into this unconditional love and care, then just buckle yourself up because you're headed for a bumpy road. Like 9 out of 10 people, not 9 out of 10 people. First of all, there's only 1 out of 1,000 that actually are healthy. And then there's only 1 out of 10,000 people that actually we might call enlightened. Okay? And that's when you mind your own business. You can have trauma in your family. People are freaking out. Someone just found out they have cancer. Someone died. Someone's in a car accident. Okay, so you, Hugh, will be different in the way you react to the way Jennifer does. You will react differently, and you only react differently because of the belief systems that you didn't pick that were actually given to you by your parents, by your teachers, and by society. So unless you want to go to brain boot camp and you want to go in and rewire, okay, because the brain is neuroplastic. I mean, only up until, let me see now, it wasn't until only 15 years ago that they would admit that you can rewire the whole brain. Up until 15 years ago, they lied and they told everyone, you are stuck with what you're stuck with, your genetics, you're stuck with your brain. If you're that stupid, you're going to be that stupid forever. But meanwhile, guess what? Now we know that you only had stupid beliefs. You're not stupid. They're not stupid people. They're stupid beliefs.
That was science saying all that.
Yeah, well, we weren't going to talk about science again, remember?
Yeah. You know what? I did put the effort in to rewire the brain, and it does take a lot. I mean, it's a continuous thing. You have to. You really do. Otherwise, you do destroy yourself. I did reach a point that it was just so noisy, okay? And it was making it like I was incapable of living. Like I couldn't do anything. I destroyed anything that I came here. So I stopped.
And guess what? And you know what? And there was a certain point in your life where you wish you were dead. And guess
Absolutely.
what? And you're not going to, and there's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
Who in the hell can take this stuff? Who can take this? And I'm going to tell you, to everyone out there in the majority of the population, you know what? To have suicidal thoughts is absolutely normal, okay, for the majority of the population. Why wouldn't you? Who can take this?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And you know what? But the reality is I'm insane. They're insane. But at least I'm insanely happy. I'm insanely in love with myself, insanely in love with life, and I will not allow myself to hate anything. Because guess what? If I do that, I change the vibration. I'm the tuning fork.
No, I agree.
I'm the tuning fork. And when I got that, you know, there's people that I've hated. I remember, you know, 2 or 3 times in my life that I would just picture myself killing someone, killing this person. I just like to see them dead.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you that's the best way to get liver disease and to actually get cancer, because those are the 2 things you're setting yourself up for. And that's autoimmune disease. Me attacking myself, okay? Me attacking myself. And that's where these psychos win. That I was programmed to attack myself, okay?
Right.
All right. Not love myself, care for myself.
Yeah, you're probably right. Everybody does. I have one of these people that are. It's been very disturbing. It is how it's kind of one of those, like, you either allow things to completely break and destroy you, or you choose to rise. Like, I know for myself, the only option was to, like, the only way to shift it was to rise into pure love. So it's like, where's my heart center? Because that's where I need to reside. Because that's the only way to lift anything, is by residing in that space myself.
So then, once you get there, you make a commitment that nobody and nothing will ever, okay, change your vibration or your frequency for yourself. You will not disrespect yourself to honor anybody's dishonoring beliefs.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I love you anyway.
And I love you anyway.
And it has to end with that. And I love you
spoke to
anyway.
this person yesterday, and in me, that could the hate could come forward because of the nature of it.
Yeah.
And instead, that's where I went. I said, I felt the love for her instead. And that isn't, there's things in this life that's very difficult.
And then
but
I'll tell you something.
myself.
And this, right? And this is the mistake that people make. You don't keep going back. You let that relationship flow down the river with love, and you focus. Like, people, like, here's the deal. The only reason
I
why
won't let my granddaughter go. Sorry, so there's like other parts to it.
the only reason why we have what we have is because our focus is in the wrong place.
Yes.
It's in the wrong place.
But some people, you have to still allow to be there regardless. Like, it's not always an option. Is what I mean.
You know what? I didn't say that we're going to get rid of them. I'm just going to say they have no effect.
Yeah, that I agree.
I'm not going to engage. And the reality is the only time that there's a problem is when we need to be right. So the reality is I can be in the room talking to someone, and I will let them be right. They can be right about absolutely everything. And that's what we'll do. And understand that when you love someone, let them be right. Let them be right, because deep down inside, when you let them be right, they learn quicker. They learn quicker.
You know, that's a great, just that one concept of let them be right. That's a big one. That can have a lot of effect in a lot of circumstances. Yeah, absolutely.
To change the world.
Okay, let's take this is going to be our last break. We only got a half an hour left, Dr. Darryl, so we're going to come back after this, and then we're going to get all the rest of what we need to say today for you guys out for you. So hope you're having a good time, and we'll be right back after this.
Because this girl loves chocolate, I am going from Romania to Austria to meet my
Okay, so we got half an hour left. What do you want to really get into in this segment?
I think we should bring it back to the physical. I think too much emotional will blow people's brains. I think that we need to talk about the main surgeries going on, like low back surgery, like hip surgery, like hysterectomies, cesareans, heart surgery, putting stents in, okay, fusing spines. Let's play and just pick body parts. Okay, let's pick body parts and just show that they're picking our body apart. That's all they're doing. You have to understand that they want. Okay, first of all, this is actually written. Every medical doctor is taught that for every 10 years that a child that we are alive, when you're 10, you've got to have them on one medication. 22, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how they want to have at least 3 body parts, okay, implants into every human being before they pass from the planet. That's their marketing goal. This is actually real. And you don't see that happening? You don't see stents?
Oh yeah.
You don't see mesh? And I'll talk about mesh, and I'll talk about why they got rid of suturing, and now why they have mesh now and not suturing. Okay, all of this is a huge setup. All right?
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And then and we're gonna wrap it up at 1:30, and
I'm out of here.
I'll do another commercial break at that time, and I'll give you a minute or two to give any kind of call to action.
Well, give me like a 5 minutes so I can end that thought. And
okay, so what I'll go like this for 5, and
I don't want to be jamming. I want you to have a nice ending to your show.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, oddly, Dave Swanson, because he originally thought he'd be on at 1.
Yeah.
And I haven't even gotten a response. So,
My name is
but
Dr. David.
We'll play by ear.
Peter will be there, I'm sure. So as long as he can still stay on, we'll just run that last half hour with
Whether or
him.
not you're paying attention to the markets, there are some great opportunities right now.
If I'm just saying, if these guys don't show up, we could actually keep you until 2.
And let's look at the private equity
Unless,
sector
if
right now.
you have the time.
Really good, unique
I'll do it.
opportunities providing some
Right, if they show up, they'll show up underneath the
I'll
screen
do it for
there.
you. And then Lori will just call. I have a
Okay, we're
meeting.
coming on. You,
I want to tell you about this guy.
okay, we're back here on the show, and this is our last segment here with Dr. Daryl Wolf. So we're going to keep to the physical instead of all this emotional stuff. We're going to talk about physical stuff, surgeries and that, but did you want to talk about this fellow first?
Well, I was just going to say that you were saying that if somebody doesn't show up, the show might go a little longer.
Yeah.
And if it does, then I'll have Lori call him. His name is Bob Conley. He's been working on this for 10 years. It's the Tesla movie. He traveled around the world, and he actually would go into secret places and see different types of energy medicine and different alternatives for energy. And he put this together, and I was going to say that you should really have him on your show. And I'm going to his place to actually talk to him and do an interview on him about his documentary this afternoon, and actually take a look. He has a studio where he has the whole studio where he presses one button, and he's engineer free. So when I set up my next, I think we're setting up a huge clinic in Puerto Rico, and I'll be setting up a big studio like yours, and to do my shows again, because right now I'm just doing all my shows off phones. So he's got a studio where he's engineered the whole thing, and you push one button, he's in Oakville, and it just turns everything on and makes it happen.
Yeah, that's nice.
So that's what I was saying.
It's like magic.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually that's right, black magic.
Is it black magic? Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
We're not
ahead.
going there. Never mind.
What?
No, I was going to ask a question that wasn't in the physical stuff. I was going to make a comment because I would assume that you.
No, but please go right ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, so my theory, it's not even a theory. We can do everything that this can. We don't need that.
We actually, here's even something better. We can do everything that the phone can.
Only better?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. But the reality is every drug that's ever been made actually is made in the brain and delivered to the body. Every drug. And believe it or not, and how they discovered all these different drugs is because of the human being being able to make every drug for every situation to heal everything of the human body. And there's a whole series of work done on this, and people don't get it. All right. But the reality is, as long as we don't tap into our human potential, see, this is a slave planet. I don't want to get into this deeply, but I truly believe that this will always be a slave planet. You know, okay? A car is a car, a motorcycle is a motorcycle, a giraffe is a giraffe. Planet Earth will always be a slave planet, but we have choices that, because understand something, you know, and I'm going to get off topic. Can I get off topic for a second?
Sure.
Please.
Okay, I just want to get off topic for a second. We are creating what's called BraveHeart Nation, abundance to all humans on all levels. I just went to Puerto Rico, and we are actually within 12 weeks. We'll have our own bank. So that means that all my clients, all my practitioners, and people that I know can put their money in there, and they'll never have to worry about the bank ever collapsing and losing their money. So that's what we did.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
But we also have taken over. We've taken over the last group we took with. There was almost 40 people. There was 37 people, and you know, we went over there, and these are practitioners, because guess what? If you were only paying 4% taxes instead of 20 to 30% taxes, would that make a difference in how successful your business would be and how you would grow? That's huge. So just know that Puerto Rico is the greatest loophole in the world. That's not offshore. It's not an offshore bank. Everybody got to get that. It's part of the United States, and it's the place where the elites use. And that's why when Bill Gates says, I'm giving $100,000 to somewhere, he's not really doing it. He's just giving away what he's supposed to give away in part of his taxes. So he's not really a nice guy. So the reality is, you know, you can go for a few $1,000s and get yourself your own corporation and never pay more than 4% tax again in your life. Or you can get two corporations and pay no tax. And guess what? I can say this on your show. I can say it on real TV, like not real TV, but TV, or this is real TV. But I could say it anywhere. I can say it in front of government officials. They can't do anything because it actually was implemented in there by these elite psychos. And now the thing is that we have somebody that will just allow everyone to come in, and until they amend this, which why do you think Puerto Rico has so much trouble is because they're trying to undermine this, but at the same time they need this. So that's a really dysfunctional relationship. But the reality is now we've tapped into it. And guess what? I've been searching for this since I was in my early 20s.
No, that's amazing.
So anyways, that's off topic. I'm just trying to tell everybody out there that guess what? Don't you believe they put us in a box financially, emotionally, and physically, and mentally. And they want to keep us there. You know, think about this. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and all these other families, okay, they have been in control for thousands of years. I said thousands, not hundreds, thousands.
12,500?
Yeah, and guess what? And the reality is this. They're not going to give this up. Think about it. I want you to think about that your inheritance is that you're a god on planet Earth where you get to decide who lives and who dies. And guess what? Your family forever has been slowly poisoning the majority of the humans, and then up until the point that they worked for 50 years and they got this money, and then now they're so sick that now they're going to give you back all the money to you, and because drugs are made out of petroleum. Okay? So all drugs are made out of petroleum. So now it goes right back to the petroleum industry, which is the Rockefellers and Rothschild, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, yeah.
Now, do you feel then that we choose to come in here for some purpose? Like, is it
I don't want to do that on this show because I don't want to lie. And if I start talking about what I really feel, I think that people are going to have a stroke, okay? So I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm being very honest.
Oh, that's all right.
I'll do it off air.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I've developed my own theory on it as
Understand
well, so.
something. Look at the beliefs that people have. They have these really, really archaic, seriously silly beliefs. Okay, most people believe that there's certain books that have never been manipulated and only written by God. So the reality is where do I go with this? Shut your mouth, Daryl. Shut your mouth.
I'm in alignment with it. Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Okay, we have to, that is like a hot topic.
Yes. No, I don't get to talk about things either. So.
You know what? The thing is I don't want to terrorize people either.
I know, but neither do I.
No.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what we're really here to talk about is...
tenderizing.
Okay,
Not terrorizing.
What do you mean?
Tenderizing.
Well, tenderizing because guess what? When you become beef jerky, you ever eat piece of beef jerky? Well, guess what? There's parts in your body. You know, when somebody says, I've got a knot in my neck, okay, guess what? I can't put my leg straight anymore. Oh, I can't bend my leg anymore. That's calcium, calcification, and scar tissue formation. That's all it is. What do you think a bunion is? A bunion is calcification and scar tissue formation. That's all it is. What do you think heart disease is? Calcification and scar tissue formation. What do you think is the leading cause of 49% of the population of women peeing in their panties right now throughout the day? Okay, it's calcification of the valve of the bladder and scar tissue, so it doesn't close, so it just goes drippy, drip, drip. Okay, so what do you think is the problem with people with a hiatal hernia where they're spewing up the acid up into their lungs and their throat? Well, that's calcification of the valve. It can't close properly anymore. Okay, so nobody gets this, but it's all calcification and scar tissue formation, whether you're talking about Alzheimer's or dementia, arthritis, or you're talking about a tumor, right? What is it? Okay, so if you look at a fibroid, that's mainly scar tissue, and it's got some calcium. When you're talking about a stage 4 tumor, you're talking about something that now is filled with calcium. That's why it's so but it's head.
Right.
Do you understand?
So that means even cancer is your body trying to heal itself.
Oh,
That's
God.
what I keep saying.
There's only one disease, and it's inflammation. If you're looking, because inflammation means inflame, there's only one. Every part of the body, it's inflammation first. Yeah. Then it's scar tissue formation. Then it's calcification. And then guess what? Because of the scar tissue, because of the calcium, do you think there's flow? There's no flow. No. It's like a bloody dam. It's blocking energy. It's blocking lymph. It's blocking blood. And understand something. There's no pain. There's no swelling. There's no redness. Okay? And there's no inflammation without scar tissue or calcium blocking the area. So you don't have any pain in your body where there's no blocks. You only have pain in certain parts of your body where there's blocks. Look at, I'm going to tell you, if you end up coming to the Whole Life Coach, every day I work on someone. I will prove to you that we can have a person, and we've got people in every course, and we've got a few of them that have fibroids and tumors. And guess what? They don't even know they do, or they hide it because they don't want to go to you-know-who. So we'll get somebody with a fibroid as large as a ping pong ball. You'll be there. And I'll show you in 20 minutes that I'll have that by 30 to 50% gone. Just by using my elbow and lovingly, because here we go. Let's call this healthy tissue. These are fibers, right? You do believe me that the muscles are made out of fibers, the organs are made out of the tendons, the ligaments, the cartilage, it's all got fibers. Now in between each fiber is what? Energy flow, invisible, blood and lymph. So, you know, nutrition in, toxins out, we got the flow. And as long as we've got the flow and the life in here, everything is elastic, it's toned, okay, and it's healthy. As soon as the flow starts to come down and you start getting inflammation, but you don't get inflammation until you have, what do you have to have before inflammation? Infection. And where do you get the infection from? Well, it's emotional, because guess what? Every time you stress out, you're dumping adrenaline, histamine, and cortisol. They're totally acidic, so you're frying out somewhere. And depending on the emotion that you have, will depend on where it actually gets suppressed if you can't address it. And nobody can address it because we're all emotional lunatics, right? We do we react and attack ourselves and each other, or do we calmly connect to our breath when we feel like we're getting a little stressed and we put a slight smile on and calm down? Which one do we do?
Usually not the latter.
Okay, all right.
I do.
Okay, so
I'm getting
now,
better at it. I'm not perfect, but I'm getting better.
yeah.
My drive here, actually, I did that because of the other drivers. I spend that's what I do for a living.
Serenity
drive.
now. Serenity now.
And I'm like, I am not going to hate these drivers. I'm talking to myself the whole way.
No, you can't say that.
I'm not going to feel this way.
Oh, you did it. Whoa,
I did it.
Whoa. Got her. You cannot say that. You know.
I'm not allowed to. Okay, don't say
No,
I'm not going
you
to hate
can't.
these guys.
What can't you say? Wait,
When you say I am not going to hate these drivers, it means that you already are, and you're working on
I can't
not.
lie. I already am. It's true.
Well, this is what's going on. Well, this is the problem. This is like that Seinfeld where George's dad's going, Serenity now. But he's suppressing it all, right?
Yeah.
And then he like blows up at the end, and that's kind of like what you're saying this is, right?
I wasn't swearing.
So-
I wasn't calling them names. It was a good step forward for me.
You know
It's
why?
the only place I get stressed or angry because I
If
do
you
so
do the
much
lion
driving.
heart breath and you have a slight smile, you just never go there.
Yeah,
That's all.
So
that's
there you
it.
go.
I got to get better at that while I'm driving.
Don't go there. So anyways, the reality is that, you know what, adrenaline, let's just talk about adrenaline for a second. Did you know that only 1% of the population work off dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins? That's called the dose. The dose is the love drugs. Now the hack is histamine, adrenaline, and cortisol. Now this is actually studied. 99% of the population, they get off on adrenaline. So the reality is now we're addicted to the drama, trauma story because we're looking for a rush in our life.
Yeah.
And so that's why people can't help themselves, and that's why news is so popular, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so but the problem is that crystallizes in you, and when you become acidic, you have to pull calcium from your bones. Listen, there's nobody's going to have osteoporosis if they know how to master their emotions. Now, look at emotion. E stands for energy, motion. Energy in motion, okay? Not commotion, all right? So when you do that, you have to understand that if you keep on dumping this stuff, your body has to make scar tissue. It's got to do the calcium thing. It's got to start protecting that weakened area because that weakened area will become parasitical. And parasitical means cancer cells. Cancer cells are created by how? Well, they're created by what? Lack of oxygen. That's it. Only one thing. Don't give me the parasite bullshit. Don't give me the bacteria thing. Don't give me the viral thing, because understand, the reality is some people say, cancer is a fungus. It's caused because of fungus. Cancer is a worm. It's a parasite. No. The reality is the issues become in the tissues. Everything is frequency. Frequency will restore your tissues. It will restore your life. Frequency turns cancer on, turns cancer off, turns your happiness on, turns your happiness off. Depends on where you're going. And understand, if you're like up and down, then guess what? Who could live with you anyway? Okay, because you can't even live with yourself. Now, the reality is, Dr. Otto Warburg, I mentioned this already, received the Nobel Prize. He received the Nobel Prize, the only person in the world that received the Nobel Prize for discovering the cause of cancer, which is 35% deficit of oxygen for more than 3 days. That's it. It's just do the math. Do the math. Calm the hell down. Do the math. Now, so when that happens, the cells say, I don't want to die. Nobody wants to die. I don't want to die. So I just want to survive. So guess what? I'll survive off the lactic and uric acid and all the adrenaline that you're pumping out. And I will also survive off the sugars, because guess what? Anybody that's stressing out all the time, they have a terrible diet. They're doing refined carbs and they're doing a lot of sugar. Okay, so we already know that compared to only 20 years ago, we eat 200 times more sugar, and it's in everything.
Than 20 years ago?
Yes, 20 years ago.
Holy cow.
Yeah, but you got to understand something. Now we're going to talk about what we're talking about. That sugar creates the inflammation, which creates the scar tissue formation and the calcification. Do you know when people say I'm bone on bone in my knees or my spine or my hip? They're not. The actual calcium was actually pulled from the bone in the area. So if it's in the hip, it's pulled from the hip bone and it's put into the tissues to actually buffer down so you don't get cancer in the hip. It's trying to protect you. So now, if what we do is if we were to put you on a perfect day diet, and we were to actually go in there and do wolf non-surgical, which is using the elbow technique, we go in and lovingly pull the fibers apart and get the blood flow and the lymph flow back in, it'll turn back into connective tissue. And it's as fast as that. Okay, I'm going to tell you something, and people can believe it or not believe it, but we're the only clinic that I know of in the world to give a money-back guarantee on all our consults and all our body work, all our courses, all our master classes. Am I done yet? Now, the reality is because 1 and 1 are 2, they're not 11. And the reality is this: we have nobody that we know of that has gone for hip surgery, knee surgery, or low back surgery, even if they were booked in the last 8 years. Is that true, Lori?
Yes, it is.
That's the God's truth. And understand something, because people come to us and they go, okay, now I'm talking about you. If you booked for knee surgery, knees are so easy. Okay, you can come in with a cane. There's a very good chance in one treatment that if you've been only with that cane for maybe 3 months, 4 months, it's going to turn really quick. Okay, and remember something, if I take the beef jerky, which is the scar tissue, and I get the calcium back into the bones, then haven't we just restored your knee completely? And the only reason why you're having pain with it is because you've got physical blocks, because you have what? You've pulled the calcium out of the bones, you've created the scar tissue, and guess what? If I have scar tissue, that means that you're shortening your tendons, you're shortening your ligaments, and you are actually thinning out the same amount of fibers there, but you dehydrated. So there goes your flexibility, there goes your elasticity, and now you call that old age. And I call that BS.
So does that mean we can live forever, or for say 500 years, something like that?
We only live as long as the majority. For most people, the majority listen to the news. The majority believe all this BS. So if the majority, if they started saying, guess what? Within 5 years, that people will only live until they're 60. People will start dying off at 60.
Oh, yeah.
Understand something, okay? You can cure yourself from any disease. You can repair anything on a physical, but you first must change on the invisible, which is the subconscious. That's it. That's the real. And I don't care if it's in your toe or in your nose. It's reversible. Yeah. The cysts you cut out, the tumors you cut out, the fibroids you cut out, and one of the worst things ever done. What is the most done surgery? Do you know what the most done surgery is?
Gallbladder?
Hysterectomy.
Oh, hysterectomy.
What is the next one? Cesarean. So understand, you know why women are having cesareans so much? Because guess what? Where's the baby born? Right? In the middle of now the sewer dump. What used to be the compost, which was the large intestine that was creating high frequency, because the bacteria is 85 to 90% of your immune system. You've got 500 trillion bacteria. You've got only 50 trillion cells. Mm-hmm. And those bacteria, they communicate to your brain 9 times where your brain only communicates back once. Your bacteria are the most important thing. Meanwhile, they want you to kill it. I mean, think about all the majority of the population. They would walk into a store and go with bacterial soap to kill a virus which isn't alive. Yes, we're the most intelligent species on the planet, or in the universe, I'm not sure. But the reality is, children are now being born in the middle of a sewer dump, okay? That large intestine is spewing out waste. And understand something, people won't like this, but you take this one and think about it, and you're not gonna like it. The reason why the baby has a foot on either side of the vaginal canal is because it doesn't want to come out, because the parents are terrorists. The reason why the baby wraps the cord around its neck is trying to hang itself. And the reason why the baby is squirming and restless all the time is because it's so toxic in there.
Wow.
Okay, so understand something. Women are losing babies because their pelvic, because the pelvic girdle is rotting out. They're rotting out. The floor is rotting out of them. And you think I'm kidding? How many women have vaginitis? How many women, their vaginas smell like fish? And that's the fungus that's actually growing inside of their vaginal canal because they have leaky gut, which is leaky large intestine. They're pooping in their pelvis.
I'll have to do a survey to verify that, Doctor.
Well, I'm sure that, and I want you to stand on the corner of Young, okay, and Bluer, and then I'll video it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
We got a plan. That could go viral.
Yeah. No.
I will add. No, I'm not going to defend. I could defend myself. I'm good. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay.
Well, I didn't want to get, but.
Okay, you don't have to be part of the survey.
I don't
samples.
need to be. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Well, just go do a study, and you'll find out that 8 out of 10 women have an actual chronic condition in their vaginal canal. Isn't that cool?
It's really.
That's just so terrible. And understand something.
It is.
We put a course together. Like, so when we go to Barrie and do this course right now in 10 days, is it 10 days or 12 days? Lori, can you check the date?
Yes.
On that? So when I start off with the Whole Life Coach, which is 9 days, okay, and then we take a day break, and then we go into the Wolf Non-Surgical, which is the most powerful body work in the world. You're going to find out, Hugh, if you come, okay? So, and then after that, we take a day off, and then there's a 3-day pelvic course, and we put something together years ago called the vaginal infusion, and did you know that a woman will absorb nutrition 500% better in the vagina than through the mouth? And the reality is we can get her daughter, if we would have did vaginal infusion on her 2 to 3 times a day, we'd have it reversed in 3 weeks. And that's God's truth. So no woman has to live with any type of inflammation or infection or infertility, endometriosis, vaginitis, bladder infections, or hip problems, or low back problems, because when you do a vaginal infusion, it heals the whole core. And actually, believe it or not, I've got studies to prove that if you do vaginal infusions, you can actually affect even brain cancers. Yes.
Holy cow. What's the male equivalent?
It's up the rectum. So you can do a vaginal infusion in the rectum. And guess what? We wanted to surprise you, but we're actually going to be doing that. We have a couple guys coming to help us, and you're going to be the person we're doing it to.
I won.
Surprise!
I won.
Yes. Let me know how this goes.
Yeah. Well, just know this, that just so you know that colon cancer is the fastest growing cancer now, and you can reach almost, it's up to 80% now with your finger. So it's only in the last 4 inches. And if I was wrong, isn't this something else? Does everybody know that the last 4 inches of your large intestine, you've got your bladder sitting in front, you've got your ovaries sitting on either side, you've got your prostate sitting just in front of that 4 inches. So guess what? Don't tell me you're not rotting out. We're all rotting out, okay? Well, think about it. What you think about is a really great diet, and understand something. We are light eaters. So when you look at food, if you're not looking at eating light in the food, then you are going down.
Right.
So if there's no light in the food,
yeah.
So understand that. If there's, that's why we drink structured water, because it holds more light. That's why we do a whole plant-based diet should be 80% of your diet. Mm-hmm. And then the other part should be protein, okay? So that's it. And that protein is actually amino acids. So we're not talking about dead animals. I say to people, how many dead animals do you have to eat to get well? Right?
Okay, I'm just looking at the clock here, and we're gonna take a little commercial break here. But do we have anybody else coming on the show?
Well, we do have the rectal reamers coming.
Well, we might have to wait till after the show.
Oh,
to do
come
that.
on. You're no fun, Hugh.
God, you're a hemorrhoid, Hugh.
Right? Yeah, that's not good. They just haven't got their links yet. They did respond, so.
Well, I did email them, but...
So what's the plan? What's the plan here?
Well, the plan is we're going to do a commercial break, and I'll
that,
tell you what.
That is the plan.
I don't know why they haven't got their links, because they weren't sent them. So let's do, we're going to take a little commercial break, and
that's it.
Then we might come back, and Dr. Wolf might still be here, and then we can you can conclude all the amazing information.
And if I'm not here, just remember, stick around for huge rear.
Yes!
Yeah.
I'm staying. All right.
Okay, this is great. I'm looking forward to it. I can feel. Huh?
I am too.
What can you feel?
I can feel the future. So okay. Anyways, we got a few more minutes on the show. We're going to be back right after this.
All right.
All right.
Today I'm sharing a recipe. I was shared with one of my friends, Sabrina. So she shared this with me, and I wanted to make it for you all.
Hang in there. Enjoy the commercials, everybody. How can you enjoy a commercial? Seriously.
Well, look at that food.
Look at that food. Huh? I needed if you can just. Okay, when does it?
Okay.
Yeah, they.
David M. Swanson at gmail.com. That's what I said.
Yeah, and I just asked him yesterday too, so it's just changed.
What just
if I had
changed?
known him coming on, originally he wasn't supposed to.
Anyway, I sent him. He did get right.
He did?
Well, no, I sent it to him.
Okay.
David M. Swanson at gmail.com. You sure that's the right?
No, that's not it. I know that.
Well, then I don't. You better give me his right.
For those of you who just joined, we'll be back in about 1 minute. Okay, about 1 minute, eh, Hugh?
Yeah.
Yeah, go get yourself a drink or whatever you do.
And more importantly, I was a customer of Silicon Valley Bank when they first moved, expanded across
thinking we should just
the states to the DC area.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. You know what? I'll just tell them that we're having technical difficulties.
If that's true, then I need Lori to call my brother and tell him to come a half hour later.
Okay, you know what? No, let's come back and do a 5-minute wrap up.
Good, done.
Okay, good. And I'm going to give me David's email address and then I'll send it to him.
Sure, you don't want to just...
But I bet it is David M. Swanson at gmail.com.
No, because I remember... Hold on.
David M. Swanson.
There it is. Real David M. Swanson. No, yes, David, yes. Real David M. Swanson at gmail.com.
So we'll be out of here in a couple minutes. Can you just tell Marcel right now that we're going to be leaving? We're leaving here in 5 minutes. Tell him, because you know what he's like. Just tell him we'll be there at 10 to... Tell him we'll be there at 10 to 2. Okay?
All right, we're back on the show. We got Dr. Daryl Wolf still with us here today, and hopefully we'll get the links to David and Pete. But we still have Dr. Daryl here. So Daryl, let's please, let's just, if you can, just summarize for the people today, and we'll give people some links in that. I got the websites running on the bottom. They can go check those out. But what else should people know as we are wrapping
we've been
up
talking mainly about issues in the tissues and organs and all that stuff, but just know this. The medical system has no business even being in anything except 1% of what they do. They're emergency care. And the reality is, you know, the way the world functions, you know, it's a good thing we have all those drugs now so that people can numb out, because most people are never going to become conscious enough to realize that they have to create a perfect day from the moment they rise until they close their eyes every night on an emotional and physical level, because it's very hard to find that. You know, on the 5th, I do a whole life coach certification, which is an emotional, nutritional, psychological, physical training that's 9 days, and it is the most intense training. It's called Crack the Coconut. I mean, you know, I have psychologists, just so you know, we have psychologists, we have psychiatrists coming, we have people that are supposedly whole life coaches. They wake up really fast when they come to this program and realize they haven't even started their training. Now, you might think that that's a little boastful of me, but it isn't. I've been doing this for long enough. When you come to we only have 2 spots left, and if Hugh comes, we only have 1 spot left, and that starts on June the 5th, right. And that's in Barrie, Ontario. And if they want to, they can call my 800 number at 855-900-4544, and extension 5 if you want to talk to me about it. But we do that course, and it's 9 days, and then and it's a 9-day course. We go for 4 days, Hugh. We take 1 day off, and then we go for 4 more. Then we take a day off after the whole life coach. We do the Wolf non-surgical. That goes for 12 days, so we go 6 days on, which is the most powerful body work in the world. Like I said, we're the only place or the only clinic, and all my practitioners, which I have, you know, I have a few thousand practitioners, right? Mm-hmm. And they all give a money-back guarantee that the first treatment you come to will outshoot anything you've ever done. So that course goes for 6 days, 1 day off, and then come back for 5. Then we take a day off, and then for women only, we have a 3-day course called Women's Pelvic Restoration and Disease Prevention. And this is where they learn how to totally restore, I don't care if you've had surgery down there, or if you've got infection, you've got inflammation, or you've got some life-threatening situation, they learn in that 3 days how to totally reverse that and understand something. We have been created by God Almighty, and it's really time that we act like it. And everybody, if you want, you can go to my library at docofdetox.com. It's the biggest self-help, self-care library in the world. We've got a masterclass in there called Emotional Intelligence for Life. We have another one that's called A to Z Masterclass that'll prove that I'm right about the whole scar tissue inflammation, calcification issue, if they want to go and do that. And we're coming out with a new app called Touch that'll be for the whole world to go and benefit from. And you can go to braveheartnation.com if you want to learn about all our master classes, courses, and trainings. We're on world tour right now. And we're going to be going from Barrie, Ontario to Calgary to Australia, where we'll be teaching, and then we'll be finishing in Bonita, Florida, and then I'll be having my new clinic will be set up, and it looks like it could be Puerto Rico. There you go.
Fantastic.
Nice, very nice.
Daryl, so good to have you back and reconnect and all this stuff, and amazing the courses, and I'm very interested, and I'm gonna hopefully be there. So thank you for coming in today and doing this.
Yeah, and I just heard the guys pull up. Okay, all right.
Right.
The rectal reamers.
Oh, okay. Well. Okay, well,
we gotta go.
Give me 20 minutes. I gotta go get ready. Okay, we're gonna take a very quick break, and then we got David M. Swanson and Peter joining us here. So thanks, Dr. Daryl.
No, thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, great.
Hopefully we can connect again.
Quick break, and we'll be back with those other guys right after this.
Not the other guys. Nice. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right, babe. We're out here.
We're done.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Definitely have to connect again.
Is there a different number for you so I can let you know about the course, or should I just call?
Sure, I'll give you my
Where do you live?
last number.
Brantford, now we're outside of it.
469.
That's right.
Well, if you want to come down, we're doing free lectures
Yeah.
in Barrie.
Okay. I know. Or can you bring them?
Yeah. BraveHeartNation.com.
BraveHeartNation.com.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, I love that. It's
now the leading cause of death.
Can you put your number on here?
And if you want,
sorry, BraveHeartNation.com.
if you want to come, I'll be singing on the first couple of days of the whole life course, 5th and 6th.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
But give me a call. Here's my phone number.
Yes.
469.
We know the cause anyway. It was a coincidence, right?
So is that your cell number? That 469 number?
Sorry?
Is that your cell number?
Yes.
945.
And then if you want yours. Oh, you've got yours.
Well, I told him.
Oh, forgot about you guys. Listen, have a great day. And I might be coming on, let me see. I might be coming on a little bit later with Bob Conley, and he developed what was called the Tesla movie. And hey, have a beautiful day if I don't. Take care.
I know we didn't really get much chatting time, but always nice. Thank you. And by God, did you read my text?
Real sciencey sounding explanation to provide